Thank you, Kendall. Our guest speaker today is retired Fulton County Sheriff Deputy Doug Layferry.
He's going to give a speech.
Cool.
Good morning. Thanks for coming. We are gathered here today on this 25th day of May to observe Memorial Day. I say observe because it's one of those rare holidays that's not meant to be celebrated. Memorial Day is probably one of the most misunderstood holidays in the American calendar. Most Americans think Memorial Day is a day for barbecues, picnics, the day the public pools are open, and is to be celebrated. On the contrary, I dread the end of May every year because I truly understand that it is a day to honor our dead, honor our fallen who have made the ultimate sacrifice to earn the hard-fought freedoms that we are expressing here today. Freedoms that are now in more jeopardy than any time since our founding. Today we gather in civil disobedience, defying the governor's order, arbitrarily banning gatherings. Americans are largely a law-abiding people. We abided by the governor's order to stay at home and not worship for the Easter holiday, under threat of arrest and fines. As time goes on, we realize the impact to our community of the Chinese coronavirus. As compared to the stay-at-home orders and the shuttering of non-essential business, it is becoming clear that the average Americans are beginning to question the validity of the governor's order. Non-essential businesses. I'm not exactly sure how they classify a business that is providing a living to its owner and its employees as non-essential. Those businesses sure seem essential to those who provide for their families and provide for our community. The government declaring by edict that these businesses who are engaged in lawful commerce are non-essential and shuttering them by threat of fines does not reflect American freedoms. The same American freedoms that were earned with blood and the greatest of all sacrifices by American patriots who lie in heroes' graves all across this great country and in foreign lands across the globe. Freedoms like the right to worship as we see fit, the right to peaceably congregate, and the right of the people to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The governor talks about how he will allow us to peacefully gather in the future. How kind of him to allow us to peacefully gather and take advantage of our First Amendment right at a time that he sees fit. Today, on this Memorial Day, we gather in defiance of the governor's order to both honor and mourn our dead. Heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice in blood and bone and gave their lives so we do not have to ask permission from our leaders to exercise our constitutional rights. The governor believes that government is a top-down exercise where he can throw us crumbs of freedom from his big table and we should be happy to receive them. These men and women laid in hallowed ground all across the world died for freedom, and what they represent is the will of the governed. These brave souls left their homes to go and fight for something larger than themselves, putting their own lives in danger so that this great country, its values and its freedoms shall not perish from this earth. They fought and ultimately died to ensure that our representative republic continues to serve its citizens, representing the people and not the autocrats handing down the orders and throwing us crumbs of freedom from their high table at a time of their choosing. Folks, that's not how liberty works. It would be a disservice to all of those in hallowed ground to allow them to continue to do so. When I was much younger than I am now, I enlisted in the United States Army. Before I left for basic training, I was called to my elderly neighbor's house because he wanted to speak with me before I left. This man was a World War II veteran, and I lived next door to him all my life. Before I was school age, his wife, who was from England, would come to my house and drink tea with my mother and I. When I was young, I was afraid of this man. However, as I grew older, I watched this combat veteran and International Harvester retiree, and I developed a tremendous amount of respect for this hardworking man. I had to go to his house because he was bedridden and at the sunset of his life. He called me to his house simply because he wanted to tell me how proud he was of me for serving my country and wanted to impart on me how serious the oath that I would be taking in the next few days really was. I left for basic training and swore that oath, thinking the words that he spoke to me. I, Douglas Layferry, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, so help me God. That man passed away while I was in basic training. I took a similar oath when I joined the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, and I reaffirmed that oath when I was elected to the City Council here in Lewistown. I tell you these things not to bring attention to myself, but to point out that my neighbor was correct. The oath that I swore is the same oath that every one of our fallen heroes swore, and if you believe that your word and how you keep it is how we are measured, that oath indeed carries a heavy, heavy burden. The heroes who lay before us carried that heavy burden of freedom as well. And freedom is not always safe. Reopening our community comes with risks, but no greater risk than these fallen warriors took. And the risks that our law enforcement officers, firefighters, correctional officers, ambulance crews, healthcare workers, truck drivers, grocery store employees, and frankly, the risks that every one of you take every day just going to the grocery store. Freedom is dangerous. Protect yourselves. But remember the words of Benjamin Franklin. Those who would give up essential liberty to purchase a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Life is a calculated risk every day, whether it is going off to war like the people we honor here today, or simply driving a car. Freedom is being able to decide for yourself what the risks are and if they are worth the reward. That is every person's personal decision. And some say liberty, and it is not left up to governments to decide what freedoms they will allow us to exercise when the politicians who we the people elected decide when it is safe to do so. To all those who hear my voice, I leave you with this. The Constitution is not a polite suggestion to be cast aside by government at a time of emergency and crisis in order to sacrifice liberty for safety. On the contrary, the Constitution is the very roadmap that has allowed our great country to survive and thrive for the past 244 years. Thank you, God bless you all, and may God bless the United States of America.
I had to do that.
Thank you, Doug.